Good afternoon, Facebook. My name is Kimberly Polk, and I'm a Public Benefits Program Manager at Step Up Savannah. And today we will be talking about the Child Tax Credit. So just more about our organization. Step Up Savannah was established in 2008 as a poverty reduction initiative. And our mission is to promote economic inclusion and financial security from Chatham County. Our vision is that Savannah is a community where all people have hope and opportunity, where we challenge injustice, and where all community members step up to create a more economically inclusive community. Step Up has several direct service programs. Some of these programs include our AmeriCorps Vista, where we have several AmeriCorps Vistas throughout our community that build capacity at local nonprofits. We have our Workforce Development Program, or our Chatham Apprentice Program, which is a 4-week program that helps unemployed and underemployed individuals find work. We have our Neighborhood Leadership Academy, which is an academy that teaches folks how to be leaders in the community. And then our Working Family Network, which is comprised of our local nonprofits. Today's program involves 2 of our asset building programs, and that is Level Up and Public Benefits. Level Up is our financial literacy program where participants become investigators into their lives to identify bridging and social capital, and that will assist them in their economic mobility journey to self-sufficiency. We partner with banks and local organizations to bring resources to the investigators. Some of these include local banks, the Savannah Entrepreneurial Center, and home ownership resources. The Public Benefits Program includes 10 agencies throughout our region that assist with public benefits applications, renewals, and case issues. Step Up is also leading work surrounding the public benefits cliff, which is when an individual is ineligible for public benefits, but has insufficient income to cover their essential living expenses. We have a task force called the Bridge the Cliff Task Force. We also have the Bridges Beyond Benefits Network, which could be found on our Facebook page, and opportunities for those with lived experiences to tell their story regarding the public benefits cliff. The Child Tax Credit is one step families can take to fight against the benefits cliffs they are facing and be part of their plan for economic mobility and self-sufficiency. To learn more about these programs, please visit Step Up's website at stepupsavannah.org. Step Up is located on all the social media sites, including YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can also learn more at stepupsavannah.org. It is vital to start this conversation with discussing asset poverty. Asset poverty is much different than income poverty or utilizing the federal poverty guidelines. Asset poverty takes in consideration all assets, which includes non-cash benefits such as food stamps, child care subsidies, and Medicaid, and is defined by the household's inability to provide for their basic needs for a period of 3 months. Here on this chart, we can see the asset poverty rate is much higher than the income poverty rate. And in households of color, it is over double. Black populations are the most affected by asset poverty. And the chart here is showing 2018 poverty rates, which has increased by 35% since the last report done in 2014. We could also hypothesize that this has increased since the pandemic and the inflation that has occurred. If a family's total income is less than the family's threshold, then that family and every individual in the family is considered in poverty. The traditional poverty definition uses money income before taxes and does not include capital gains or non-cash benefits such as public housing, Medicaid, and food stamps. The Child Tax Credit is a resource that helps build up families' net worth and decrease the likelihood of asset poverty, especially since the benefit does not count against public benefits. Here is a list of Savannah's low-income wealth communities. Through the research of the National Equity Atlas and Equity of Opportunity Project, we see that children growing up in these neighborhoods are projected to receive between $16,000 and $23,000 a year in salary by the time they are 35, which we know is a low poverty wage. We will talk about this more, but we know that we can change the trajectory with benefits and tax credits such as the child tax credit. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ife Finch Floyd, Economic Justice Director of Georgia Budget and Policy Institute. The Georgia Budget and Policy Institute is a friend and partner of Step Up Savannah and works to advance lasting solutions that expand economic opportunity and well-being for all Georgians. They produce research and state budget analysis to show Georgia ways to provide equitable education, healthcare, and opportunity for everyone. Ife Finch Floyd leads GBPI's ongoing proactive safety network and economic justice agenda. Since she arrived at GPPI in August of last year, she has focused much of her attention on educating direct service providers and public officials about the child tax credit and raising awareness about families' ability to still claim the credit and how, before coming to GBPI, Ife worked for a decade at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities on other cash assistance programs. Please guide your attention to Ms. Ife Finch Floyd as she tells us more about the child tax credit and how to file. Ife?
Thank you, Kimberly, and thank you, Step Up Savannah, for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to work with you and to talk with folks in the Savannah region. Again, I'm Ife Finch Floyd, Economic Justice Director at the Georgia Budget and Policy Institute. So I will summarize the child tax credit and also take you through some steps for how families can claim it or how you can help families claim it. So the child tax credit, what is it, right? It really is money to help families cover the cost of raising children. So the child tax credit has existed since late 1990s, early 2000s. It's been around for a while, but in 2021, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan, and that included some expansions to the child tax credit. And right now it's temporary unless Congress acts to extend it long term. This expansion is temporary. And so it changed the child tax credit in a couple of ways. First, it increased the benefits, the amount that families can actually claim for children. It used to be a flat $2,000 per child. Under this enhanced or expanded child tax credit, it's $3,600 for children under 6 and $3,000 for kids 6 to 17. You don't have to have income or earnings to get the child tax credit. That's a change. And also caregivers who have an ITIN, but their children have a Social Security number, they can claim the child tax credit for their children. And also caregivers can claim the child tax credit for kids up to age 17. So folks who have not received the child tax credit yet, they still have time to do so, especially if you have very low income. And you might ask yourself, well, have I received the child tax credit? I'm not sure. Well, if a lot of people last year, if they had kids and they traditionally file taxes, they received monthly payments in 2021 from July to December for their kids. And that was a child tax credit. That got a lot of media attention. So you may have heard about it. It was those monthly payments. And that really was only half of the child tax credit. When they came, when 2022 came, tax season 2022, and people started filing again for their previous year's taxes, they got the rest of the child tax credit. So that's really what that was. So think back, have you even filed? Did you file last year? Did you file this year? If you haven't and you have kids, you probably didn't receive the child tax credit. And if you didn't receive those monthly payments, that's another indication that you did not receive the child tax credit. So if you have not, there's still time to do so through getctc.org. That site will go a little more in depth in it, but it is available to use through November 15th. So time is running short, but there is still time. So why is this important? Because 100,000 kids are at risk of missing out on the child tax credit just because families don't know they're eligible. I said that was one of the big changes that Congress made in 2021 under this version of the child tax credit. A lot of new eligibility, expanded eligibility. And so some families who, again, who don't file taxes because they don't have to, just don't even realize they are eligible. So how much are we talking about? It can be a lot of money. So if there's a family of 3 with a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, or a 7-year-old, that could mean about $10,000, a little more than $10,000 for that family. And the family could qualify for even some more tax credits on top of the child tax credit. It really depends on your circumstances. So I want to offer just a few more details about eligibility because, again, taxes can be confusing and scary. So I'm going to offer just a few more details to help people just consider for themselves or if they're going to be helping families. So again, if an adult has a Social Security number or an ITIN, they can claim the child tax credit if their children have a Social Security number. So again, think about mixed status households where there may be different immigration statuses in the home. If the children have Social Security numbers, the family can claim the benefit for those children. And again, what the dependents, right? Who can be considered or who can be claimed as a dependent, a child dependent, I should say. So it could be the adult's child, including an adopted child. It can be a grandchild, a stepchild, or even a younger sibling if the sibling, is taking care of their brother or sister, or a half sibling, or a descendant, or a foster child. The dependents must have lived with that adult in the United States for more than half the year. So if the child has split time, whoever, they stayed at grandma's house for 8 months out of the 12 months, then it's the grandmother who can claim the child tax credit for that child. And if the dependent did not provide over half of their own support in 2021. And I forgot to add this note. Also, we're talking about dependents or children who were born in 2021 or earlier. So if you had a child in 2022, you cannot claim the child tax credit for them this year. Okay, so I referenced getctc.org. Well, what is it? So getctc.org is a simplified tax filing tool to help families claim the child tax credit. So because this enhanced expanded child tax credit allows people with very low income or no income to claim the child tax credit, those folks don't have to file taxes. So getctc.org was created in conjunction with the IRS. It's IRS approved, so that they don't have to fill out a full tax return and get all those documents together, right? It's a simplified tax filing system. You only have to have a few things, and they can sign up, and it only takes a few minutes. It's available in English and Spanish. It's mobile friendly. We know a lot of people access the internet through mobile devices today. There is chat support available, and it is free. It is free. So getctc.org, I said it is for people with the lowest income or no income, but let me be very specific and clear about what that level is, because a lot of people, to be honest, have low income, right? But it might be too high to use this tax filing tool. So what are those income levels? So if we're talking about a single parent or a single caregiver who earned in 2021 $12,550 or less, or didn't have any earnings in 2021, they can use getctc.org. If you're talking about a married couple who earned $25,100 or less as a married couple, they can use getctc.org. And if they earn less than $400 in self-employment income. So I said it's easy, but I want to show you just how easy it is. And these slides will be sent out to all of the folks who are watching today, and Step Up Savannah will make it available. So you can access the links that are embedded in this presentation to look at your leisure, but I wanted to show you some of the videos that demonstrate how to use ctc.org, and Kimberly will help me here.
First, GetCTC will go through a few steps to confirm that it's the right tool for me. The tool asks first where I spent most of 2021. To claim EITC, notably, I must have lived in one of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, or a U.S. military facility. Families in Puerto Rico are able to claim the CTC, but not the other 2 credits, using GetCTC. GetCTC asks next if I was married or single in 2021. The rules of simplified filing, notably, effectively do not allow households to elect the married filing separately filing status. Then the tool confirms that the IRS allows me to use simplified filing, since households with higher incomes or other special circumstances, like self-employment income, are required to file a full return. GetCTC will then warn me that I could get even more money by filing a full return or filing back taxes. For now, I'll opt to continue with this tool. Next, GetCTC will ask if I would like to try to claim the EITC. Unlike claiming the CTC and stimulus payments, claiming EITC requires submitting data from Forms W-2 documenting income from 2021. If I select no, GetCTC proceeds as it has previously to claim CTC and RRC. Instead, I'll select yes, so that GetCTC will ask me additional questions necessary to claim the EITC. Next, GetCTC will ask me a few other questions to confirm I'm eligible to use the tool. It lists a few additional and rare scenarios that GetCTC does not support, and will ask whether I filed a 2021 return this year. If I already submitted a return, the IRS would reject a new one I file through this tool. Finally, GetCTC will confirm that no one can claim me as a dependent, since that would make me ineligible for CTC, stimulus checks, and EITC. I've now confirmed I'm eligible to use GetCTC. In the next section, GetCTC asks for some basic information about me. I'll enter my name, date of birth, and social security number. Note that I could also enter an ITIN. Behind the scenes, GetCTC will confirm that my identification number makes me eligible for EITC. If I have an ITIN or my social security number is not valid for employment, the tool will alert me that I cannot claim the EITC. As required by the IRS, GetCTC asks for my phone number. It also asks if I was a member of the Armed Forces in 2021, since that could impact the amount of my recovery rebate credit. As required by the IRS, GetCTC asks if I am legally blind. Finally, GetCTC asks me to agree to the privacy policy. Then the tool will check if I filed a 2020 return. If I did, GetCTC would collect my 2020 adjusted gross income, which the IRS requires from filers for authentication purposes. In this case, I'll say that I didn't file last year. On this page, we ask clients the contact method we can use to best reach them. Note, GetCTC does not require clients to create an account and does not require them to have an email address. Clients simply have to sign up using their email or their phone. In this case, I'll choose to sign up by phone. GetCTC will send me a 6-digit code that I must enter to confirm it's mine. For the purposes of this demo, I'll enter a fake code on this page. Note that if I don't finish my return in one sitting, I can log back in and continue using this contact method. In the next section, GetCTC allows me to list my 2021 dependents. Rather than assume I've read all the rules, GetCTC asks me all the key questions I need to answer to make sure I can claim my dependents. Keep in mind that the pages clients see in this section very much depend on the answers they provide. First, I'll enter my dependent's basic information: name, date of birth, relationship to me, and SSN, or ITIN. We ask about one specific scenario to confirm basic eligibility. Next, GetCTC will ask me to confirm a few more criteria. Behind the scenes, GetCTC will determine which credits my dependent is eligible for. Finally, GetCTC will show me a list of my dependents, including whether they are eligible for CTC, the third stimulus payment, and EITC. I can keep repeating this process until all my dependents are recorded. For now, I'll say I only have one dependent.
Thanks, Kimberly. So I wanted to share resources for all tax filers. So those who may not meet the income threshold for using getctc.org. I include a link to a VITA site search. So that's the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program that is funded by the IRS. These are all free resources as well. myfreetaxes.com, IRS Free File Online, AARP Foundation Tax Aid. So some of these are only available during tax season. And getyourrefund.org, I want to highlight that because that's made by the same folks who created getctc.org. It's a more extensive process because it's filing a full tax return, but it does have some of the user, more accessible kind of components that getctc.org has, but that's not available to next tax season. So if you didn't file this year, if you know that you don't have a tax, any tax payments that you have to make, you could try to continue to file now, or you can just wait till tax season as it comes up. But if you think you might have to file or you're not sure, wait till next tax season, and then you'll figure it out then. It depends on your circumstances to figure out what your situation will be. But yes, there could be a penalty for filing late. So I just want to acknowledge that. However, if you got the child tax credit in 2021, but you did not file again, that means you missed out on your second part. It kind of came in two parts in the initial tranche. So if you missed out on that, you should file again in order to get that second part of the child tax credit. But again, you should probably maybe wait till next tax season if you think you might need additional help when more VITA sites are available and whatnot. This is the VITA site that is available in this region. So if you do have questions about, your taxes right now, or you want to see if you can file right now, go ahead and call that number or reach out to see if they could give you some guidance on what to do next. And if you have to use a paid tax preparer, there just could be some circumstances where you have to. That's not, I wouldn't make that the first choice for everybody, but again, some circumstances may require just more robust, tax filing assistance, and a paid tax preparer can help you with that. But go to this IRS link and it will help people consider what they need to go through or think through rather, to find a reputable tax preparer. That's the critical thing. We don't want people to be going to tax preparers who are going to take advantage of them. And if any tax filers have any disputes or really complicated taxes, they can reach out to the Low Income Tax Preparers Clinic. And again, this link is to find the nearest one, the one closest to you, if you have a more complex tax situation. Okay, just a few questions that might come up for you. Will an individual ever have to pay this money back? Well, the child tax credit is not a loan, so don't think of it as, like a credit card or anything like that. But if someone did receive payments kind of in error, right? So payments if a child wasn't their dependent, they may have to pay that money back. Now there are some protections against this for some people who with very low income, because that could be a lot of money. And if they already spent it, right, like that's hard to pay back. So the legislation did include some protections for people with low income, but I just want to note that could be a possibility. I think the instances of this happening are low, and people shouldn't be scared to try to see if they can get the child tax credit. This may have just happened in error. Okay, what if someone owes child support or back taxes? So I would recommend, even if you owe back taxes or child support, to still go ahead and try to claim the child tax credit. Because any credit or refund that you get will go towards any outstanding balance that you might have, either with the IRS or any kind of child support payments that you have. And if there's anything left over, you could get that the refund there. Or even if you don't get anything back, it could reduce your debt, right? And it could mean that you might be eligible for tax credits in the future once you've cleared that debt. So it's not an ideal situation, but I still think it could be a positive for you to go ahead and apply for the child tax credit, even if these circumstances apply to you. Does receiving the child tax credit impact other public benefits? It does not. It is not going to change your eligibility for federal public benefits. And does it impact my immigration status? So it is not considered in a public charge determination if you are applying for a green card. And the IRS is forbidden to share an individual's tax information with other agencies. So if you want to kind of dig into that and look at what the IRS does, I included the links here for organizations or institutions or individuals to look that up specifically. Okay, so, here's the good news. For the families who received the child tax credit, it was one of the main drivers for a historic decline in child poverty that we saw in 2021. And, we saw declines across the board for all kids, but particularly for kids of color. Black children's poverty rate was cut in half, due in large part to the child tax credit. You can see that that's kind of the first set of lines to the left. In 2020, the Black child poverty rate was about 17%. And after in 2021, when the child tax credit was coming out, that dropped to about 8%, huge decline. Again, big declines for Latino kids, big declines for Indigenous kids, somewhat smaller, but still important declines for Asian kids and white children as well. This is one of the biggest impacts that we've seen for the child tax credit. And the last thing I want to say is that people use the child tax credit to cover the essentials, right? That's what the child tax credit was created for, to help cover the cost of raising food. And I hate that I actually even have to show this, but unfortunately, there continues to be a stigma and a narrative of giving cash to people, and specifically people with low income, that's really based off of some very racist and sexist stereotypes, particularly during kind of the debates over welfare reform. So, these are data that show that people spending on food, spending on their bills, spending on rent, spending on, education costs or fees. Like, these are the things that people, had the autonomy with this cash to do in order to make sure that those children were cared for and that they were engaging in things that were meaningful for their kids' lives. So thank you again to Step Up and for all the participants in today's webinar. I'm happy to answer questions. I'll note I'm not a tax expert here. So if you have any technical tax questions, I may not be able to answer them, but happy to address anyone's questions about my specific presentation.
Thanks so much, Ife. So now is the time for any questions. Do we have any questions in the chat or on Facebook? I don't see any in the chat or in the Q&A, but if you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A or on Facebook at this time, and we'll be happy to answer them. We'll give everyone a minute or so to do that. Okay, so I don't see any on Facebook or in the Q&A. But Ife, thank you so much for an excellent presentation and the information. And we will move along. As we stated before, Step Up Savannah is on all the social media channels. Please check us out. This video will be uploaded to YouTube and will be on our Facebook page. So check those pages out to grab those links or the other information to file your child tax credit. And we would also like to thank all of our sponsors for this event. We would like us to give a special shout out to the City of Savannah, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America as specific sponsors for the program. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. That concludes our presentation. Thank you to all of you who joined, and we will see you later.